All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order with a pledge of allegiance and moment of silence.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. Are there any announcements tonight?
No announcements.
Okay, we'll jump right into student highlights.
Awesome, so the elementary school is providing our student highlight for this evening.
I have some second graders with me. Two classmates of Mr. Donovan's class. This is Karen and this is Alice. And we also have a furry second grader with us. This is Tahoe. And Tahoe is our school's therapy dog, and Mr. Donovan is the owner. So we thought you might want to hear a little more about Tahoe and what he does in our school. So, girls and boys. It's loud, right? So the first thing we're going to talk to you about is some of the things that Tahoe does in the classroom. Want to start, Karen? Use your giant voice. It's okay. Look, Tahoe is right with you. What is one of the things that Tahoe does in the classroom?
He sits next to Mr. Donovan.
He does sit next to Mr. Donovan. Alice, what is something else he does?
He helps us learn in the classroom.
He does help you learn in the classroom. And does he help other kids in the school too?
Yeah,
How do you know that? Karen, how do we know when Tahoe helps other kids in the school?
because they all like to come up and pet him.
They do like to come up and pet him. What else, Alice?
Because everybody is so excited to see him, and a lot of people in the school know his name.
I totally agree. In fact, Tahoe even has a picture in our yearbook, doesn't he? So what do you think, should we tell the board what some of the best things about having Tahoe in our school is? What do you think, Karen?
He likes to walk around and get pets in our class.
He does, he walks the whole school, doesn't he?
Yeah.
What else, Alice?
He stays with Mr. Donovan, and during tests, he makes us feel better.
He does make us all feel better, doesn't he? We love having him here. Mr. Donovan, is there anything you want to add?
It's been a pleasure. I appreciate you guys allowing me this opportunity. So this is the third school year. Third school year through TDI. He's just a great fit for the whole school.
He's very tired, like Miss Espy is right now.
So thank you.
Do you have any questions for the girls, or for Tahoe might not want to answer a question, but we can answer any questions.
You guys did a great job.
Yeah, I'm so proud of you. Mrs. Kraft, do you want to add anything? I don't want to
I'm
exclude
very
you.
thankful for Tahoe too. He is a wonderful treasure to have in our school. He comes running through the office looking for treats and just puts a smile on everybody's face everywhere he goes.
We share Tahoe with his mom, who works in a high school in Webster, and we always are sad on those days when he goes there. But we love having him. Girls, you did a great job. We're really proud of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, moving on to reports to the board. I hope you guys can be as cute as that was. Student representative.
Good evening, my name is David Fisher and this is Grant Allen. We are freshman class officers at the high school. The high school finished midterms last week and started a new semester this week.
We hosted the recent all-county event last weekend. The high school is taking part in the Global School Day of Play next Friday. Wrestling sectionals are Saturday, and the indoor track and field divisional meet is tomorrow.
Thank you.
Good job. Alright. District administrator.
Okay, we'll start out with Ms. Saxby.
So thank you for that, that was a highlight of our day. I'll just add quickly, I was gonna do Global Play Day, we're getting all ready for that next Friday, February 9th. Lots of exciting things going on in the building, in preparation for that. And I think I talked about the cafeteria staff last week and how wonderful they've been through the project. And tonight I just wanna add how wonderful Patrick has been and very communicative. There's a lot going on in the building with the capital project, and I appreciate his communication and how he does to make it go smoothly. So thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a second or third year for the Global Play Date?
Second.
Second, yep.
Second year. Ms. Taylor.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to take a moment to recognize Doreen Bowman and our food service staff in the middle school. They do a great job. They're always ready to go. And so we really appreciate them. And I think our students actually, especially our older ones, actually do say thank you as well. I'd also like to recognize Ben Kolak and Lydia Schauf. They are working to do a collaborative project in the social studies library aspect, working with a graphic novel, which is an anthology of stories from Holocaust survivors, and they are using that as a collaborative group project, so I'd like to recognize both of them.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Dr. Avery.
Good evening. I have two quick highlights. The gentleman mentioned we just finished midterms last week, so I do want to make sure that I thank Mike, who really does everything with midterms, and his team, so that's Michelle in the office, as well as our classified staff, our special ed teachers and TAs. They do a lot of proctoring so that our students feel comfortable and supported in their testing environment, but there are a lot of moving pieces, so I want to thank all of them. And also to recognize our All County that we hosted at the high school this past weekend. So thank you to Christian DeGrave, who did a ton of work to pull that off, and to Patrick Tyler and his Triumph students, who also were very instrumental in supporting that effort.
Great, thank you. Ms. Livermore.
I'm not going to pass if that's okay, because my highlight will be our student opportunities presentation.
Okay, looking forward to it. Thank you. And Mr. Sutton.
I'm actually also gonna pass. We have Chuck here reporting tonight. Excited for that.
And the first budget presentation.
And the first budget.
So we're gonna be listening to you.
That's very equally exciting.
Equally exciting. So I have just a very brief update. I wanna just recognize Jeff Sutton for his dedication, thoughtfulness, and thoroughness in developing our budget. There are so many pieces of that process that take forever to pull together, and he's been working weekends, nights, and he's just so thorough. We went through some of it today, and he's, identifying things that I don't think have ever been identified, and I think he deserves recognition for that, because he really has given a lot of outside of work time, effort, and energy to that process. So Jeff, thank you for all of that.
Thank you.
And then I just want to say welcome to Rebecca Denny and Nancy Miller. They are two of our teachers who are participating in the Leadership Academy, which is great, and so they're here tonight as part of that. And then I want to say welcome to our seniors over there. Participation in government, is that the class you're here for? What do you have to do? Just sit here? You have to take notes? Do you have to do a report or anything?
Yeah.
Okay, so do you need a signature or anything?
Just to sign that on that.
Just to sign in. Okay, did everybody sign in? You know where the sign in is? Okay, I wanna make sure you're covered. I don't want you to do this and not get your credit.
Yeah.
So welcome to all of you. We're glad to have you here.
Alright, thank you. District committee reports. There was a building and grounds meeting on the 17th. Anything? Health and wellness on the 24th. And then we just had a policy committee meeting just prior to this meeting. Okay, district events. Let's see, Martin Luther King Jr. Day was the 15th. Midterms and Regis exams, 23rd to 26th. end of the 20-week marking period is the 26th. The local all-county is the 26th and 27th. And the start of the second semester, January 29th. Fort County School Boards Association. I have nothing to report other than, did everybody see the email about the change in the legislative papers? Okay. All right, any reports from DTSA?
Okay. Morning, for those who don't know me, I'm Veronica Weber with the PTSA. I'm also the elementary school building rep. In December, we worked with the Devon Tross Kindness Initiative to support them in their event that they did at the high school. It was an event where they needed to have insurance to be able to use a building. And so that was our main support for them this last year, but we are looking forward to moving and working with them to make it a bigger and a better event for years forward. Going on right now is we're financially supporting the schools for their Global Play Day. We have dates for the book fair coming up the end of April in the elementary school, and we just have to work on the space. And other than that, I think we're also working with the community schools program to look at hosting a springtime event for the elementary age students.
Awesome.
And then, of course, coming up later this month is the local goods and Leo's pie sales. So that'll be running the 12th through the end of February, and that's always our biggest fundraiser of the school year. So we're looking at getting that cranked out to bring a lot of money into support schools.
Thank you very much.
Wonderful, thank you.
All right, moving on to board reports. I need a motion to approve the CSE case summaries.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Okay, transportation update.
Hi, good afternoon, evening, everybody. Good to see everyone. So a lot happening in transportation that we're excited about. Starting tomorrow is the Love the Bus Month from the National Association for Pupil Transportation. It's a nationwide campaign that goes on, and it marks the celebration of gratitude towards dedicated professionals to ensure the safety of students on their journey to and from school. And it's a meaningful way to recognize the diverse group of transportation staff that provides a safe transportation for all of our students back and forth. So that's a nationwide initiative through NAPT. It's done locally too through NIAP, which is the New York Association. I'm the president of our chapter for Wayne Finger Lakes, and so we plan something every month for our group once we get together in February, and it's just nice to recognize everybody around. And we also give a certificate out for a bus driver that has gone above and beyond. So that's kind of unique. Go ahead, Gracie. On the next one, so first I'd like to thank Jeff. Jeff is always there, unless he's dodging my phone calls. But he tries very hard, but I find him.
He is persistent.
I find him, trust me. Yeah. Even at 6:30 in the morning. Thanks to Patrick, Andy, Ket, and Rob and the maintenance team for ensuring our building is up to snuff and looking good. And our mechanical team. Our two mechanics have had it rough as of the past year. One went out for back surgery. He was out for quite some time, so I had just a staff of one. He did an amazing job, carried us through 3 DOT inspections. And as soon as Chris came back, Scott was having back issues and also went out for back surgery. So now Scott is out. Hopefully he'll be back within the next couple weeks. So it's been tough, but they've maintained us very well. So moving along, our DOT rating. We're still at 100% for the last 5 years in a row. So that really says something to us. If you look at the one sheet that I handed you with the single highlight across, this just gives you just a quick snapshot I'm not gonna take a lot of time on it, but a lot of people think when DOT inspections are done, they're just done on school buses, but it is actually anything DOT regulated, limousines, ambulettes, school buses, anything that carries passengers has to be DOT regulated. So even if we have a private vehicle that's like a minivan, it has to be DOT inspected. So that's the triangle inspection sticker on the right-hand corner of the windshield. So you'll notice down through here how many inspections some of them had. So Williamson, we had 57 inspections between April 1st of 22 to March 31st. 0 of those vehicles were called out of service for the percentage. So that's what gives us our 100% rating. So the statewide DOT rating is actually dropping, and I think it's due to a lot of staffing. But they're also putting more regulations down on us ever since the limousine accident in Cohara. So once that happened, they started looking at things very closely. Even though they looked at school buses, they look at them even more now, so that's just a little snippet of that. Again, our mechanics stepped up in the time of need. Even through having one there and one not, we still carried our DOT rating, so that's a huge kudos to both Chris and Scott. On to the next one. So our update, so thanks again to Patrick, we had a new boiler installed. We had quite the emergency when we figured out we had no heat in the building. So as you can imagine, especially in the shop, it gets pretty cold when there's no heat out there. So Jeff and Patrick got together, we got that ordered and installed, and now it's very warm in the building, so I'm thankful for that. Our new routing program, I'll show you that quick on the next slide, and also our new sports and field trip management program. All right, Gracie, if you can go to the next one, you able to get that to play? So what you're looking at here is I can pull up what our buses look like as they're en route. So this was a video I took of a few of our buses. So as I'm hovering over each bus, you can see what bus number it is, how fast they're traveling. And off to the left side of that screen, you can see which stop they're en route to. So I can see when they'll be there. It actually goes through and it will update the time, the estimated time. So if I have a parent call, what time is the bus gonna be there? I can see when the bus, what time the bus will be there because it automatically updates itself. So this part you're looking at here, every time the bus stops at a particular stop, that stop turns yellow. The ones that are in blue, the bus has not been to that stop yet. So a parent calls, bus flew right on by my house, well, that does not turn yellow unless that bus comes to a complete stop. So I can see exactly what time the bus was there. It'll go also, if I hover down over the exact route, it'll tell me how fast that bus was going while it was en route. So it keeps a running tab and it's updated every 5 seconds. So it'll tell me exactly where the bus is located. This came in handy when we had one of our drivers whose husband had a heart attack. I got a phone call from his employer. I was able to pull this up to see exactly where the bus was instead of coming over the radio. And I actually met her at the elementary school, pulled her off the bus and brought her back to the bus garage and brought somebody else to drive her bus. So, it's not only for safety of the students, but our safety of our staff too. So that way that's not something we have to come over the radio with. If you look at our routing, our new software for our, one thing I'll hit on with this real quick is your tablets that you have in front of you. So real quick, again, I don't want to spend a lot of time because Jeff will start talking, you'll leave at midnight. So if you would, Francis, are you all turned on or did they turn off?
Turned off. You told me not to.
I'm gonna blame Jamie on that one, but. Alright, so if you hit the button on the side that is not red, you'll feel it vibrate quick. Alright, so as soon as it turns on, did it come on?
Yeah.
Alright, so Francis, if you'll enter a driver code, so tap into that code section, and then your keypad will come up.
Hold on, it's loading.
Okay, loading, alright.
We're on the main screen.
It should come up fairly quick.
Glad you went to me about those.
You said yours does the same thing, so.
Something.
Yeah, if it was an iPhone, it would have been up already.
Mine doesn't actually turn off like that, though.
It doesn't?
Not the same. We're gonna-
Alright, did they pop up?
Yes.
Okay, so tap in there, Ashton, if you'll enter 4855 and then log in, Francis 5351, Jamie 4132. Alright, so once you pop that up, it's gonna list routes associated with each one of those drivers. So if you select any one of those routes, it'll open up the route itself. And then you'll be able to see, it'll say there should be I think there's a timer on there, does it say that it's gonna start at at a particular time? I'm not looking right at one.
I don't see it.
I think you have to hit start navigation.
Okay.
Start navigation.
So it'll start a countdown on when that bus is supposed to leave. So if the driver's going out, if they're going out right now, they can hit quick start and it'll start, or it'll count down till the stop, till the route starts. Also, they can access all their student information from the tablets as well as a map of the route. So that way they can see exactly where they're going. It's all not only visual, but it's audio, and the audio is very loud, so they can hear it as the bus is moving along. So it's our new system that we just implemented this year with this new company. So they are in the process this summer of doing a lot of updates to the system, and one will be our new badges. So the students will be able to swipe on and off. And also coming out within the next month is the parent app. So as parents, you'll be able to open that up and you'll be able to see what time the bus is gonna arrive. So it's a secure system, it won't show exactly every one of the stops, it'll only show your stop and when the bus will be there.
That's very cool, yeah.
On our new trip software, Andy and Kayla Yarrow have been hard at work on this. And also with our field trips. So on the page with your highlights, what you'll see on there is when any teacher or staff make a trip request, it comes out on this, this is kind of what the screen looks like. I couldn't print the exact screen, but this is all the information on there. So they'll enter the information, once it's entered, it's a paperless system now. So once it's entered, it comes right to my office, I sign off on it, it'll go right back to the principal clicks on it quick, it goes to the superintendent and back to me. So it's a quick and easy thing, there's no more papers through the mail in 3-4 days, it's very quick. On the one that's stapled together that looks like this, we'll show you an outline of exactly what that looks like. So it'll tell you the trip number, the request, whether it's been ordered or completed, all their contact information, what time they're leaving, the pickup location, their drop-off location. This is a spreadsheet of what we see, it's a little bit cleaner than this, but once I imported it to an Excel, this is what I got. So this gives you an idea on what it looks like. So as of now, these are sports and field trips that are in our system. But it's very easy to keep track of, and then it's easy for us at the end of the school year too, for our budgeting purposes too. So, it's like I said, we're getting out of the Stone Age and into the 21st century, and this is working out really well.
Does this calculate, like estimated cost based
It
on
does.
mileage and driver
Yes.
hourly rates?
Yeah, once the trip is ordered and I put the information in, the hourly rates are already loaded.
Yep.
And once the mileage, when they go to where they're going, all the trip information is in there. So it'll show exactly how much the trip will cost from start to finish on an estimated basis.
Yeah.
And then once they come back, I look at their timesheets and their actual mileage, and I can plug that in quick, and then it's all figured out. And then I can run a tally of that at the end of the month, or I can do it on a yearly basis.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, it's very user-friendly system.
That's good. I can't wait till we can start using the cards for kids, as long as kids remember to carry them.
Exactly, yeah. What is nice is if they don't have them, the driver will be able to touch the screen and add the student right to the bus. So this saves us a lot of time if a student is changing addresses. I go in within 30 seconds, literally, I can take them off of one bus, put them on another bus, and actually locate it. The Google Maps system is a wonderful thing because it not only has the earth view, but it has the street view. So I can pull down the street view and I can see exactly where the pin is setting for that stop. So if that's stop number 10, I can see the pin sitting there right on the road. So if I need to adjust it for stops, I can.
It's great, it's, thanks for sharing all of that, Chuck. I think one of the main reasons we moved forward with this, beyond just having the accurate records, is the safety element of it. There's just so much embedded in this that provides for, the safety of our students, making sure they're on the right bus, that the parents can see where they are, that parents know when the bus is coming, so they're home. Every day I listen to the radio about, when to drop off so-and-so, nobody's there, what do we do? And then Chuck's office has to call and find, so this is, I think, will be very helpful in that manner.
And I have to thank, on that note, thank the elementary school too, because Carrie has picked up the radio and started radioing the buses if here's a question. And that saves us a step from having for them to call, us to call them to find out where it is, and then us to get back to the bus. It's some wasted time that doesn't need to be there, and she's done a wonderful job with that.
Are these tablets connected straight to a cell network, or use the Wi-Fi on the buses?
They're connected to a cell network, to Verizon cell network. Right now, knock on wood, I haven't hit any dead areas in our district.
Yeah, we're lucky.
Yeah, right, exactly, yeah.
There's other districts that have huge dead zones.
Yeah. So. All right, moving along to the next one. So what are our challenges lately? Well, our staffing, right, the struggle is real on that. Our sports runs, we've had most of them covered. We thankfully for some of our subs that are able to step in on those. Especially our earlier runs that are tough to get at, our 3 o'clock runs and such are tough. This time of year, we start having a few of them with sectionals and such, but we're making a run right through the next 2 weeks. I have all sports runs covered. So hopefully, unless anybody gets sick, we have everything covered. And all our staff has definitely stepped up with all of this. They're willing to help, so they're right there if we need them. On to the next one. Our current fleet and staff, so currently we have 26 buses, 19 large and 7 small. Our oldest bus in the fleet is a 2017. This year we're purchasing 3 new large buses and 1 small bus. And we're trading in 3 large buses and 1 small. So I actually did some price comparison this year. Our buses they're going up every year, right? I mean, I think they're getting us ready for that electric shock, but we're trying to get out of that. But so I did some comparative shopping this year, and I'm actually moving to Thomas buses. They are roughly about $8,000 less per bus for the same exact options on my current buses. So Jeff and I talking and looking at the budget, it was definitely the right move to make. And service-wise, I've got a great relationship with those guys, and good thing is the tires are the same, the engines are the same, it's not gonna change our parts. So, which is really good. So all it's gonna do is reduce our bottom line just a bit, so. Staff numbers, we have 18 full-time drivers, 5 monitors, 3 full-time and 2 part-time. We have 3 subs that work daily. This time of year, those 3 subs head south sporadically, so that might be a little bit of a challenge, but we're working through it. On to the last slide. So again, our team has stepped up. I gotta thank every single one of them. We try to have fun in the process. We laugh. If Mary Grace is listening to the radio, I chuckle sometimes thinking, oh boy, she heard that one. But just their willingness to help. It's great to walk in every day and see everybody smiling, not having to just say, well, I'm here today, what's next? So we have great rapport with everybody. So right now things are running fairly smoothly.
Yeah, they always do, and thanks for your leadership. I think our transportation department is in better shape than most, and a lot of that has to do with Chuck's leadership and the fact that people love working for Chuck. So we appreciate that.
Yes, we appreciate it.
But I know it's $8,000 is a lot, to me it's a lot of money, in a budget it's not a lot of money, but 8,000 times 4 buses, you're saving by looking elsewhere. Same thing with the boiler a few weeks ago, you looked elsewhere and you got a lower price. So things like that, I think we appreciate.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Any questions on anything? Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck.
Appreciate it.
Of course.
All right, to a new opportunities for students.
Okay, alright. You guys wanna stand?
Do you want us to stand?
Yeah, let's stand. So the opportunities that we are going to share with you today, some of them are implemented right now. Some of them are opportunities that we are currently exploring and are looking to implement in the future, but we thought it was a really good time just to highlight all of them. Sorry, I can. Do you wanna come over here? A little awkward. You can go to the next slide. So we'll start with the elementary school. One of the things that we've really been working hard at this year is STEM integration. So we have a tech integration specialist through BOCES, Eric Waples, and as I'm sure you are all pretty familiar with, like, we are in a really good spot with technology. Our teachers are very comfortable with the technological platforms that we use. And so when Eric and I met this year to talk about his goals, we really wanted to focus on STEM integration. So he has been working with our elementary teachers. He's been doing grade level meetings with them, and BOCES has recently just developed a STEM lending library, which has all kinds of things in it.
For our students here, can you explain what STEM is?
Oh yeah, so it's science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So it's really just about that enrichment piece, bringing all of those core content areas together and giving kids enrichment opportunities. So Mr. Waples, I'm not sure if you know him, but he works mainly with our teachers on integrating technology into daily instruction. So he's gonna focus his time on STEM. So among many things in this lending library, a couple of the things that he highlighted is for K1, I don't know if you're familiar with B-Bots, but they are adorable. I should have put a picture here for them, I'm sorry. Kids were cuter. But B-Bots will help with coding, so to get our kindergartners and first graders with doing some coding. And what they can do is use these maps, and they can put like sight words, they can put math fluency facts. And then the kids will code and they'll like use directional directions to be able to decide where they need to go, and then they can do whatever task is on there. So he's working with them right now to implement that. And then another highlight for him was the green screen. So just again, to be able to provide some of that enrichment for our students, I think he's working with a first grade teacher on the green screen kit.
I'll add to that, we had curriculum meetings this morning, the first grade team is going to do animal reports, and they talked about the green screen. And so they're gonna let all the students use the green screen with their animal or the animal habitat behind them, so they can share that with their families.
So really cool stuff. He's also met with our middle school team, but we're highlighting elementary right now, so, okay. Next one.
So one of the other things that we wanted to highlight, and we have one of our coaches here tonight, is we are very excited to bring back the coaches in the building. We have 5 in the elementary. We have 2 social emotional coaches, Rhonda Tucciarello and Carrie Petrie, and we have 3 instructional coaches, Becca Denny, Laura Scalani, and Mary Lyons. And Rachel and I are both very pleased with the different innovative ways that they are working with our teachers and our students. Becca came to me this morning, we were talking about something else, and she segued into a really great initiative she's gonna do in the building with other coaches around 100 days, and how they're gonna tie in math to that. We have really put a lot of focus into our Tier 1 instruction this year, which I know you've heard me talk about. Mary Lyons has done some wonderful work with the kindergarten team, and what I would say has really shaped that Tier 1 instruction in those classrooms in a really productive way. Our social emotional coaches are constantly reaching out with resources. They also have a resource kind of library in our mailroom where teachers can access different materials. All of the coaches send frequent emails with ideas and things like that. Kindness Day was just recently. The social emotional coaches sent resources around kindness activities, as well as some great video clips. We're really pleased with all the work that coaches are doing and really grateful for them in the building. And also, we've started a computer science course in the elementary. We did it with fourth grade. It took kind of some creative thinking outside the box because we don't have a lot of extra time in the school day. So Stacy Newmeyer has worked with Rachel and I, and she has kind of transformed her library classes with fourth grade in order to implement these computer science classes. She's very excited, she's very motivated about this. They started after Christmas break, and so they've had a couple sessions. They're working through learning the different Google functions, including inserting text, inserting pictures, animation, all those great things. The students love it. She says that 40 minutes flies by. And it's been a great way to get that computer science into the building, and we'll continue to explore ways to bring that to other grade levels as well.
So at the middle school, a few highlights. One, we are implementing the Seal of Civic Readiness. So Seal of Civic Readiness is really a distinction for graduation, but it can start as early as 7th grade. So we've been working with our social studies department, and Brian Rocco has really taken it on to be able to be that support and contact for moving our kids forward in projects so that when they enter 9th grade, they already have some of the points that they might need. So with the Seal of Civic Readiness, I'll kind of give you the blurb now. There are 6 points that students have to be able to earn, and there's really multiple ways that they can earn them, but it has to really show their commitment to civic responsibility and that participation. And so for the middle school, they can do a middle school capstone project. So they are right now presenting that to our current 7th graders. 8th grade, I think we're concerned that they may not have the time that they need to really be able to do that capstone project this year, moving into the high school, so we're offering it, but I think our focus is really more on the 7th grade students at this time. But parents have been notified of this opportunity, and we're really hoping that kids take advantage of it.
And this is for different designation on their diplomas, right?
Yes, yep.
And what does it translate to in the college or career ready world? I mean, do people? Yeah.
So that would be it's a seal that goes on the diplomas, like some of the other, like the seal of literacy that shows that this graduate is ready to be a citizen, they're ready to participate in the civic process, they're informed, they're, ready to, be in the world and participate in that process.
I'm just curious how.
And they did more.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm curious how widespread that is.
In industry.
Yeah.
I don't know about that, I know that certainly other schools are also implementing this, so it will
So hopefully it'll
be
just grow.
something, yeah.
I think it's a fantastic opportunity that just builds that whole child that we always talk about. It's another piece of that.
100%, and I think this is just a little preview of maybe where education is going. And we've talked about that when we talk about future planning, is where kids are working on certain seals or credentials that align with what they want to do in the future or what's going to best serve them as they move ahead, whether it's career, college, or service,
Yeah.
so.
No, I love that, the sort of more individualized pathways to get to where you wanna go and making sure that our curriculum and additional programs meet the needs of our kids so we can start to think about moving in that direction. So I think all of these opportunities are awesome.
And I would say something that's a little unique to our district, that maybe isn't to others who are implementing the seals right now, is that our teachers and our administrators felt strongly that this needs to be additional opportunities for kids. So I think the easy route is to be able to look at your current curriculum and say, how can we fit these in? Or what are we already doing that can just give the kids the points that they need to earn these seals? But we aren't necessarily taking that route. We are really looking at what opportunities can we give to kids to be able to participate in service learning that goes above and beyond participation in government or whatnot. So I'm really proud of the work that we've done. I think this implementation process has taken us a couple of years to get up and running, but we're here and hopefully we get the participation, so.
That's great. I got the Parent Square message about it.
Yeah.
How, if our children want to participate, what's the?
There is an application that your child can pick up in the guidance office, and then as long as you just fill it out with them and sign it, then they'll be ready to go. It's fairly simple.
Good.
So then the other highlight that I'm going to share before I turn it over to Ms. Taylor is computer science. So we've had computer science skills classes at the middle school. Mr. Mattice has primarily been the teacher of those courses. But this year we had Mr. Baker who took on a section of computer science as well. And I would say between Mr. Baker, Mr. Mattice, and Mrs. Newmeyer at the elementary school, they've done a phenomenal job of just trying to align with one another to make sure that they're not giving the kids the same experiences in all of the classes. And this picture specifically is from Mr. Mattice's class, and he, just kudos to him, he's always looking for new ways to be able to enrich students' education in his classroom. This picture is of the kids developing their own video game. So they did a lot of coding, they purchased these little I think they look like old-fashioned Game Boys, so that they could try out the game, have their peers try them out, give feedback. So it was just a wonderful experience.
Good evening, everyone. So we have several different levels of ag integration in the middle school. So as to Mr. Baker's woodworking class, students talk about, for example, sources of where the lumber comes from and how you use, for example, the lumber. So if you're doing basic construction, particularly in his class, you use pine because that's a softer wood, etc. But if you're doing more refined furniture, and then you use your harder woods, for example, hickory and cherry and oak and all that type of stuff. So that's deep discussions that they have within his class. You take it a next step farther, our FACS class and home and careers, they talk about the source of food from local, again, the apples, the fruit that we produce here, where does it come from, how does it get to your table, local honey, all of that, to broader New York State. So for example, again, where I grew up, there was a lot of dairies of distinction, so it was much more of a dairy oriented production, and how does that get to us? So that's a lot of ag integration within FACS and Mr. Baker's class in woodworking particularly. But we are so excited this year that our new staff member, Mr. Brainley, has the second semester Intro to Ag course. And that course, they are actually going to produce and grow. So for example, we're gonna get out the maple syrup tapping. We learned a lot last year. We learned a lot. Don't leave the sap overnight unrefrigerated. Step one. Okay. So this course is completely dedicated to project-based, hands-on. They are going to grow a garden. They are going to start experimenting, again, as I said, with the maple syrup and harvesting the maple syrup. And then the deep conversations, again, where does your food come from? Just today, this is day 3 of their class, they talked about an Impossible Burger at Burger King or McDonald's. How many miles does it take to get the food needed to produce that burger? And they realized they did the whole research, it's up to 1,500 miles to get all the food needed, the ingredients needed for the Impossible Burger. So they are having deep discussion, but they are also hands-on, project-based in our new Intro to Ag course. And when we talk about college and career readiness, we absolutely know that the ability to speak a second language is a huge asset in employability and just world knowledge. And so we have obviously many students in our school who already have this skill and who are already more employable and have an advantage. And so we have made a commitment over years, and we're very appreciative, that research says the earlier a student is exposed to a second language, that they will acquire it and it becomes part of their, brain pathway. And so we have introduced in 7th grade all-year course every day, and you can choose either, you can do French or Spanish. And so we feel strongly that this has helped our students, again, when they get to 8th grade, it will just reinforce all that knowledge and then they can expand upon it. So that has been a big commitment.
So moving on to the high school.
So today I presented to students, specifically sophomores and juniors, with the help of Tracy O'Hara, on GRIT, which is an initiative through FLCC. in our region where we're trying to leverage distance learning and the micro-credentialing that you had mentioned earlier to offer some different opportunities to our students that we don't currently have. Today we had talked about, what is the program, what are some options, what is the earning potential for you if you have more skills than just your entry level skills. So the GRIT program is looking at what are the high demand or growth job sectors in our area. And then students can, using our distance learning, which I'll speak to in just a minute, over 1 or 2 years, they can take 3 to 4 courses that will get them a credential in a specific area. So one of those that we talked about today was the Amazon Web Cloud Associate credential. So that would also get them between 6 and 12 credits from FLCC if they're interested. The seniors won't be able to participate now, but they could if they were to enroll at FLCC in a similar program. So trying to look for some different things that we're not currently touching on in our current coursework. As far as distance learning goes, we were the recipient of a regional grant to purchase a mobile classroom unit that would allow us to offer courses to students in other schools in our area that don't have what we have and vice versa. So we're trying, right now, we're discussing within the other schools, how can we align so that we can offer, what are we offering, what are we thinking, so that we can make good use of those resources. And then our Gemini and AP enrollment, I don't know why we were talking about it, but we have an enormous number of students in the 11th and 12th grades that are in either AP or a Gemini course. I think it's 43% of our upperclassmen, and many of them are in more than one. So kudos to them. We have
Has it continued to increase recently? It's higher than normal, isn't it?
Well, we keep adding, so which is great. Yes, we have, I would say, a very competitive, academically oriented senior class. So they are gobbling up, opportunities right and left. So we have 15 either AP or dual credit options, not including our Project Lead the Way, so more than 15. So we're certainly always looking to tweak those course offerings to make sure they're, what students are interested in and what our staff feel, passionate about.
Thank you. So at the high school level, we also are implementing the seal of civic readiness. So Dr. Avery and Mr. Prey have talked to the 9th and 10th graders along with Mr. Lampy, who is our department chair, around just the opportunity, how kids can get the points. I think at this level, this is where we really start to look at the high school level capstone projects, the service learning that kids would need in order to be able to acquire this distinction on their diplomas as that seal. Sealed by Literacy, we're in year 3 of Sealed by Literacy, so this isn't necessarily a new opportunity, but we continue to grow in the number of students who are going for it. So this year we have 11 students who are eligible and 4 of them are heritage speakers. So that's just a wonderful opportunity. And then this past spring, we applied for the individual arts assessment pathway and we were approved for that. This is really just another +1. So if a student really needed this as part of their graduation requirements and music, theater, visual arts was an area of strength for them, they could pursue this in order to get their +1 for that graduation requirement. So last spring we met with Mrs. Picaretto, Mr. Tyler, Ms. Davis, and we are offering course sequences in visual arts, band, and theater. So just again, I think when you look at all the opportunities we have for students, it really also goes back to the dedication of our staff to really put in the work to make sure that these opportunities are present and available. So that was really great work. I don't think we have any students who are currently on that pathway, but it is brand new, so.
And I will speak to esports, so that was something, actually that, Eric Waples presented at a staff meeting, just recently. We have already purchased the devices needed, actually they're going into our computer graphics labs, all those machines got an upgrade. So that, if you're not aware of what esports is, that is a competitive gaming, program, so just like you'd be on a team, you would compete against students from other schools. There are different leagues at the regional level that compete. They would be doing a series of approved games that we can choose from, things like Mario Kart or what were the others, Mike? I'm not gonna remember. I know Mario Kart because I like Mario Kart, but
League of Legends was another one.
they're appropriate certainly for school, but still engaging and interesting, so. We have a staff member who's already interested in leading that up, so we're gonna start offering like a soft launch and then seeing if there is interest to pursue further. For CTE, we have a senior who is in that pathway who is looking to graduate with that credential, so that'd be another credential on her diploma in the pre-engineering pathway through Mr. Coquate's classes. So Tracy O'Hara and Dave Coquite have done a lot of work to get that up and running, to find the right students that would be best served by that kind of program. Ag integration at the high school, so we've just presented the new course this fall that we'll be offering next year. So very excited about that, as well as our science team looking at their labs and how can we, make sure that we are also infusing local agricultural practices and trends in what our students are currently doing, so that, we're still infusing that in our regular coursework. And then we have just a whole bunch of new electives that you're getting a new one just tonight, so many thanks to our staff for coming up with new ideas for things that they are hoping will hook students' interest, be, enriching to them, but also preparing them for the next steps.
Okay, that's it. Do you have any questions for us?
I wanna go back to school.
So out of curiosity, I love that we have more and more, and we're creating more and more paths for everyone. If you could compare us, if you can, somewhat future point, to like-sized schools, are we on par with other schools with the paths that we're creating? Do we give more opportunities? Just curious.
Yeah.
In the future, if you.
Yeah, I can definitely give you some more specifics, but from what I would say initially, we are definitely on par with what other regional schools are doing. Williamson's always been a little ahead of the game, and I do think that we are in some cases. When you look at especially the academic opportunities that we provide for the population of students that we serve, I think we are doing very well, but I can give you more specifics.
I just wanted to see how much better we were doing.
Yeah, we're always great.
No,
There's no comparison.
Brag about ourselves, we're about all of you, so.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Jeff, are you kicking it off or what? So excited?
We can.
No, I mean, you're so excited.
They need to watch this and think about it.
No,
I feel bad. They're comfortable.
Well,
It's like
I gotta work on your spiel then.
Yeah. Tighten it up.
Yeah, I
Jeff.
can.
Tighten it up.
It's a lot more.
So tonight's an overview of where we are at in the budget, in the budget development process. Next slide. Tonight's agenda, we're gonna take a look at the economic outlook for New York State, look at the governor's proposal from, I think it was on the 16th or 17th, she came out a couple weeks ago, her state executive budget. We're gonna look at foundation aid, year-to-year cost drivers, rollover budget from the appropriation side and the revenue side, and a quick summary. Macroeconomic updates. New York State has reported the state finances remain on solid footing. So the state's fiscal year runs from April 1st to March 31st. So this information is at the end of September, it's a halfway point. Tax collections were projected to decline 9.6 billion in 2024 compared to 2023 calculations. Expenses have been revised downward 3.5 billion, which sounds good, due to lower than expected spending. The aggregate revisions estimate a $3.5 billion surplus to carry forward to reduce budget gaps. Looking at 24-25 state budget, tax revenues are projected to increase 2.4 billion. However, expenses are expected to outpace tax collections by 7 billion compared to 2024, and I am getting to a point, I know it's a lot of numbers. So looking at 24-25, New York State is projecting a $4.3 billion budget gap. So what does this all mean? Some of these comments can seem somewhat contradictory to one another. On one hand, the state finances remain on solid footing. On the other hand, state spending is projected to exceed the resources available to support that growth. If this is the case, there's a potential to continue to see flat or reduced increases to foundation aid, which is the perfect segue to introduce the governor's proposal. So this slide looks at the governor's proposal for state aid versus the district's projection of state aid. So state aid accounts for approximately 55% of the revenue budget. Foundation aid, the first one up there, is a set allotment based on the state's foundation aid formula. Takes into account enrollment and certain wealth metrics. At this time, we're anticipating receiving these funds. However, this represents an approximate $160,000 decrease from what we were expecting. And I'm gonna talk a little bit about this more on the next slide. High cost aids are based on student placements currently and student enrollments. So we see some negative variance here, and really this comes from the highly transient population that moves. So I've already had students in placements that have moved, so that's why you see a decrease. They move into they go into a placement and then they're out of it. And so I kind of do my own calculation to really try to hone in on that number, and that's why you see a negative variance there. Building aid is determined upon final cost reporting and the aid ratio applied to it. It involves continuous tracking of past projects completed to come up with this value. In December of 2023, the district signed a ban or a bond anticipation note for the current project underway. We have our largest variance here as the state's numbers don't reflect that ban. After consulting with the district's financial advisors, we feel that this estimate's a more true representation, so that's why we see that significant variance there, 700,000, so it's on the right side, it's increasing revenues, but there is a cost associated with that. We'll see that in the future slide coming up. BOCES aid projections, we have small negative variance here in the BOCES aid projection. This estimate's based on expenditures through 6/30/24, and it's really dependent on what we're going to end up spending, which we don't know yet. I can't look into the future and know exactly what we're going to end up spending with BOCES, as things change on that as well. Transportation aid, we have a negative variance. Again, transportation is an expense-driven aid. This is based off the entire transportation budget, which is not completely expended. We can't budget to spend an entire budget. You have to make sure you're going to have enough to get there. And not everything is eligible to receive aid. Things like field trips, certain field trips, sports runs, right? Those things are not eligible for transportation aid. Instructional materials aids based on pupil enrollment, and the variance here is minimal. Overall, we have a positive variance, mostly driven by that building aid number. As always, these projections are subject to change as we move forward, and things will change throughout this process. Go ahead, next slide. Thank you. This slide looks at foundation aid across Wayne County, sorted by percentage change from positive to negative. I have a little asterisk over, so that's really what's driving the sort here. For example, District A and District B have the highest positive percentage changes, while Williamson and District J have the largest negative percentage changes. So not only did Williamson and a handful of other districts on this list receive a reduction in foundation aid, we're actually receiving less than in the prior year. So it's not even just flat, we're receiving less, to approximately $157,000. This is significant because contractual increases for salaries, health insurance, and retirements increase every year. And if we're not receiving that aid, it just creates a challenge. It's important to note that this might not be the final number for foundation aid. The hopes are that we'll see an increase in the state's adoption of the budget, hopefully in mid-April. They're talking about April 17th, having that number, so I hope that we have some more news by then, and even earlier would be better.
That's right around when you have to adopt the budget, so we're holding for sure.
This slide is a comparison of the percentage change, that last number on the last slide that we're driving by, in foundation aid to a district's combined wealth ratio. The combined wealth ratio is New York State's metric of wealth. Without getting super into the weeds here, the combined wealth ratio takes into account both the district's real property tax values and the income of the residents, and they compare that to a value that they use for enrollment. A district with an average level of wealth would have a metric of 1 or 100%. In this case, a district with a lower level of wealth might have a combined wealth ratio of 35%. So on this chart, I'm plotting 2 data points for each district: percent change in foundation aid in blue and the combined wealth ratio in the brownish red. Comparing districts is always a huge challenge because it's not apples to apples, no pun intended. We're all different. And a lot of these variables aren't constants, it's all variables and hardly any constants. And so these data points are continuously changing. So not including a couple outliers, the overall combined wealth ratio, the top line is trending up, while the percentage change in foundation aid trends down. This inverse relationship helps demonstrate the impact of the combined wealth ratio on foundation aid. So the higher the combined wealth ratio, or the higher New York considers the district to be, the more wealth in the district, the less likely you are to receive foundation aid. Now, there are outliers, Wayne and Lyons and Newark probably have lower wealth compared to the number of pupils they have, and it's opposite for Wayne, so that's why we see them as outliers, but overall, generally speaking, you see that line advancing up. Traditional year-to-year cost drivers, so the 22-23 school year saw an increase of 22% to health insurance. The 23-24 school year saw a blended rate of 11% to health insurance. Health insurance rates are unknown for 24-25, but indications are saying that the high deductible health plan is expected to be high teens. That's important because approximately 65% of the district employees are on the high deductible health plan. To put this into context, the high deductible health plan is the district's best value plan for the employees. It cost approximately $14,500 3 years ago, and that's a $9,000 increase since then. That's what we're going to be looking at, which we have about 115 employees on it. It's over $1 million increase over 3 years on just that high deductible health plan alone. When speaking to Excellus and SMOLA, who represent the district with health insurance, their response is just that there were services not sought, that health plans were not being valued correctly by actuaries, and high cost claimants, high cost medications, just seems sort of like a perfect storm. And I'm never happy when I leave those meetings, frustrated. But it's not, that health cost is health cost and I don't get to decide it. Other cost drivers, contractual expenses, so these salary increases, IEP mandated services for our special needs population, and maintaining seats and CTE programs through BOCES. Staffing changes, the district continuously explores ways to reallocate staffing to meet needs of students, and that's something we're always looking at and drives cost. Thank you. So on the slide, we're looking at the preliminary rollover budget by functionary for our appropriation side of the budget. Generally speaking, increases will be contributed to those contractual salary and benefit obligations I just spoke about. I've listed noteworthy items on the right side. As you scroll down, some significant outliers are estimated increases for health insurance. I just talked about new debt issuance that I spoke about earlier. The reason that we're receiving that higher aid is because we just signed that bond anticipation note for this project. I think it's important to note here that it's just a rollover at this time. As we move forward, we'll begin to hone in on these numbers and come a little bit closer. There's certain things we're still waiting for. I don't have BOCES request for services yet, which will give me costs for BOCES in there. I just have estimates of what I think, but hopefully those will come in favorable. I'll look at the district's funding sources. The tax portal is not open yet and it's missing some pieces of information. So this projection represents a traditional increase in the tax levy at this time. The budgeting for pilots remains consistent. Sales tax remains consistent, however, discussion around that potentially disappearing still remains. That could go away potentially. Other local revenues include those out-of-district placements who are attending Williamson. Again, this population can be transient, so taking a conservative approach here on this funding source. But I'm working with our CSE department to try to get closer to those numbers, to get an idea of what those numbers could look like next year. I've already covered New York State aid, but again, that lump aid number includes foundation aid, BOCES aid, transportation aid, high cost aids, and building aid. Medicaid's budgeted based on expectation of rates and billing and historical trends. And I've zeroed out at this point use of reserves and appropriated fund balance. Not sure why that's off, that's weird. Lines up on mine, sorry about that. We currently have a budget gap of just over $2 million. Much of this is attributed to losing foundation aid and increased health insurance costs. It's important to consider that this gap does not reflect the budgeted use of reserves or fund balance. It's important to remember that expenditure and revenue projections are subject to change at this point, it's early. Personnel and contractual decisions are going to impact these figures. A contingency for risk is strategically tapered on various expense accounts, and retirements we don't know yet, so those will be coming
March first
March 1st, yeah.
is the deadline.
So that's where we're at.
So this is a devastating picture for a district of our size. That gap is double the gap that we've had since I've been here. So a couple of things that I wanna speak to just for the public who may be watching. I think the board is well aware of these things, but also a good reminder for all of us. We have asked the state to look at that foundation aid formula and fix it. A school like us, Williamson Central School, gets a little over $8,000 per student in foundation aid if you just divide it out, where other schools in Wayne County get $14,000 per student. When we talk about equity, when we talk about wanting our students to have the same opportunities as other districts, that really is, puts us at a disadvantage. The reason we get less foundation aid is not because we don't have the free and reduced price numbers as other districts, we do. Our poverty rate here has steadily increased, but we have a very high combined wealth ratio when compared with other districts. So that in and of itself is faulty. What that says is we are a wealthy district, but we know that that wealth is concentrated in, a few properties. We do not have a large business foundation to help us with the taxes that are placed on our community. So the foundation aid, the state aid side of the formula is broken, and that we're at a disadvantage there. But the other thing that we're at a disadvantage from is the other side of the formula, our tax-based formula. Our community bears the responsibility of 50% of our budget. And what we have to grapple with as a state is the equity of that. When you talk about a district like Webster or Pittsford that has a big tax base, they can increase under their cap, like a 1% tax rate increase for us would be, would be about $150,000. So if we're sticking with that 2% cap, the most we can levy more from our community in a given year is $300,000, period. That doesn't even cover the increase in the
In one health insurance, that'd be nuts.
But when you look at another community that has a strong tax base, they can raise $1 million for that 1%. So when they go out at 2%, it's $2 million being added to their budget. And again, our community bears the weight of 50% of our budget. And so we always try to be mindful of that. But in a way, it's unfair to the students who live in this community because of that formula and the way it works. So we keep advocating, we keep, I'm on the legislative committee, we met with Senator Honey last Friday. We have advocates and lobbyists that are working for us to try to advocate for these changes, but nobody sees them coming.
How many other districts are like ours in that?
Well, if you remember from the workshop that we had last week, I showed you that list. We are the second from the bottom when it comes to combined wealth ratio and low number of amount of money per student.
I mean, when you look at, two things. So one is that combined wealth ratio. Is there an assumption that other school districts that are on the Lake Shore fall in line with us?
Some do, some don't. I think actually as we dig into it, it might have even more to do with large farms.
Farms, yeah.
And then along with that, that's even more complicated because there's exemptions and things like that. So the property itself might be worth a lot of money when you look at it in terms of property wealth, but in terms of generating tax dollars, not so much. We have a neighboring district in the same boat and they had no lakefront property.
Okay.
But I do think lakefront property also adds to that perception of wealth.
So I'm just wondering, when you talk about looking at that, well, if you use that combined wealth ratio in conjunction with the per pupil rate, it feels like they should be looking at households that have children, right? Because most, when you look at a lot of districts, the higher dollar real estate often is, retirees or people that don't have children, and it's hard that factors into the kids that go here, into that equation,
100%.
So I guess that's what I'm asking, was if the other districts next, like near us that are in the same predicament, and so when we lobby, or are we lobbying literally for us?
We're all lobbying for that, although some districts will benefit from changes more than others. There are actually districts that will lose if the formula is right sized, because right now, they're making out like bandits, so just finding a truly equitable way. The foundation aid formula has like 14 different factors.
Yeah,
It's very complex. So, I do think that we have to keep advocating for it to be, adjusted. And that's gonna take some brain power and some negotiating and some time spent. We'll continue to advocate, but I don't see that happening
No.
anytime soon.
It's been a problem for 20 years.
Yes. Right, but I think the gap between the haves and the have-nots is continuing to widen. And so I think we'll get to that breaking point sooner rather than later where something has to be done. So I'll get off my soapbox right now, but I do want people to understand that, you know, we are held to this, like, it's not of our choosing. You know, we are held to making sure we balance this budget. We can't just produce more, like in business, you know, you can cut costs and produce more to try to close the gap. We can't do that. So we are looking at some impact to our programs.
But we try to guesstimate as best as possible until the budget is finalized.
But I think what I want everybody to be aware of is we've done this in the past knowing that we're gonna be okay. That's not the case this time. So best case scenario, we're still going to have to do some major cuts. Best case scenario. Unless something miraculous happens and there's no, you know, maybe it will, but there's been no talk of that at all.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff.
Thanks for that upbeat.
So positive. You gotta work on your presentation.
I'll just see myself.
Nice job,
All right, I need a motion to approve the consent agenda items 5B through 5F as recommended by the superintendent. So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. All right, moving on to old business. I need a motion to approve the second reading and adopt the following policies: 6170, 6180, and 2100.
I move that we waive the second reading of those policies and adopt them.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Moving to new business. I need a motion to approve the disposal of electronic equipment as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion here? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. I need a motion to approve the budget transfers for the 2023-2024 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Jeff, any comments here?
It lists them, it's for Tap App and 4Dscape, which is platforms for
School security.
school security and some, one of them's for document scanning costs, which we were awarded that grant, and this is just a cost that we have to pay as part of that grant. And the rest are pretty small.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. I need a motion to add Vaughn, Shonik, and King as an additional school attorney for the Williamson Central School District effective immediately. So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
So these are the school attorneys that were previously associated with Harris Beach. They have left as a group from Harris Beach and are now with this new firm. So that's why we're adding this firm, so that we can continue to access those excellent attorneys who have helped us tremendously.
Just always curious, fiscally similar.
Same pay structure and all of the above.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. I need a motion to approve the 2024-2025 high school course offering Spanish, literature, and composition.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion here? Sounds exciting, sounds great. Yeah, very cool. Alright, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. I need a motion to approve the request for a new book for new books for 8th grade social studies.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Informational budget transfers. Anything here, Jeff?
No, nothing,
Okay. Nothing exciting?
nothing.
Nothing to follow up that riveting
No,
budget?
something count that.
No, I am a little scared,
There's a technology committee meeting coming up next week, February 7th at 7 a.m.
Bright and early.
Bright and early. Upcoming district events, we have the middle and high school report cards will be available February 2nd, and the global school play day on February 9th. And thank you for continuing to do that, the kids seemed to love it last time.
Kids and staff.
And staff.
Be nice if we had snow. 2 years in a row.
I think that's just you.
No, actually, it's not me, it's the children.
Makes it easy to do sledding.
I know.
Moving into closing items.
Pass.
Jeff, Board of Ed highlights. Do you have any?
A big thanks to Christian New Games, as Dr. Avery said, for taking on the All County. Really was a big event, and glad that he was able to step up to do that.
Thank you. I would just like to quickly highlight the admin team and the entire admin team, but specifically in the 3 buildings. The presentation we just had, while difficult to hear all these new things and then have Jeff's presentation with the budget, my mind's not stopped thinking about like, what does this mean for all these new things that we brought to our students? But thank you, even knowing what might be to come, that you continue the commitment to do what's right for our kids. And we'll continue to fight the best we can to keep as many opportunities as we can, but knowing that it's a difficult climate coming up, so thank you all for continuing to commit there. Any other highlights? Okay, public comment. Board of Education invites the public to comment on matters on the agenda at this meeting. Public comment portion of the meeting is a time for the board to listen to you. Responses may be provided by the board president at this time or by an administrator at a later date. We ask you come forward to the podium, identify yourself by stating your name and the agenda item you wish to address. Please limit your comment to 2 minutes per person. We've allotted a total of 10 minutes for public comment. Critical comments naming specific personnel should be addressed privately in order to protect individuals' rights. Do we have any public comment tonight? No? You guys don't want to tell us how riveting these meetings are? All right. I need a motion to adjourn to executive session. I move that we adjourn to executive session to discuss matters of student discipline or specific student placement and or program that would otherwise disclose confidential or personally identifiable information.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, adjourn.